Now this is an example of the old Hyundai Tucson, and this one was a limited all-wheel drive. So let's just take a look at how they've changed this car. Basically, there haven't been extreme changes. The materials are about the exact same between the old model and the new model. What is different is that the feature equipment that you want to get, like to make it more of a luxury feel and to give it more safety tech, like, you know, blind spot mirrors and everything, all that equipment has been added, and now you find it right here, and it's accessible, easy to the driver. Also, the center stack has been changed. It doesn't look like a budget rental car anymore. So this, again, is the old Tucson. And as you can see, plenty of space for your kids and this, that, and the other. I really like Hyundai because Hyundai understands how to build a car for the American market. And not only do they build a car, they have a very large portfolio of cars. You know, Chrysler and Jeep need to improve their portfolio and they need to add more products. But for right now, Jeep is probably doing very well, and Chrysler and Dodge actually handle the car spectrum, while Jeep is handling, obviously, the all-wheel drive vehicles and the crossovers in the form of the Cherokee and the Grand Cherokee. But Hyundai really builds a good car, and this is the old Tucson without the new 1.6 liter engine. Okay, so basically I'm with Hyundai doing a quickie capsule review of the brand new Hyundai Tucson. So basically the Tucson is a smaller crossover than the Santa Fe. Right here you have a Tucson, and this one is obviously black. There's a white Tucson, and in between them this is the Santa Fe. The Santa Fe is larger, and obviously it gives you more room in the second and third row than the Tucson. The thing about it is the Santa Fe has a higher price than the Tucson. Now the Tucson comes with two engine possibilities. There's the 2.0 naturally aspirated, which means that it doesn't have turbochargers or superchargers or anything, and it just breathes regular air. And then there's the 1.6 liter turbo. Now, if you have the money, the smart thing to do is go with the 1.6 liter turbo. To me, my problem with crossovers in general, for one thing, I kind of don't like the ride height, but the reason why people like crossovers is because obviously the interior space is a lot larger than they'd get in a car. When American cars and a lot of import cars didn't offer you a lot of space, the crossover took over where the wagon used to offer you more space. The wagon offered you more space in length, and the crossover now offers you more space in height. So basically what we've done is we've traded length for height. It's unfortunate that wagons like the Dodge Magnum and the Honda Cross Tour, it's unfortunate that, you know, there's wagons that are far and few between, or you have to end up going with the Germans to get a more expensive wagon, say like the Audi A7. And a lot of people don't even like the word wagon anymore, so they call it Sportback, and they call it anything they can call it to not say the word wagon, because wagon sounds effeminate and makes you sound like a soccer mom, and a lot of people just hate the word wagon. So now the word crossover sells, wherein SUVs typically are larger and more expensive. Like when you take a look at GM's SUVs, you take a look at Ford SUVs, you're paying $50,000 up to $70,000, sometimes even more, depending upon what you're getting. But what we're going to do is we're going to test drive, take a look at the difference in the option sets for these cars. This is pretty much a base Tucson. This is a front-wheel drive 2016 Tucson. Now, there's a lot of equipment included in this car, and the manufacturer's retail price is $26,000, $26,150. But with all the equipment factored in, it's $27,270. So that is a front-wheel drive example. Now, let's go over to the 1.6 liter turbo, which is pretty much the premium model of this car. This car starts at $31,300, and with the total price, navigation, moonroof, etc., it's $35,275. So that includes $2,750 for the sunroof, And that package, it's called the Ultimate Package, included the high-intensity headlights, the electrochromatic cluster, the ventilated front seats, which you're definitely going to want because when you're sitting in traffic, ventilated front seats, in addition to those heated seats, help cool that booty so that this way, while you're sitting in traffic, your back is not sweating, especially back there, you know, where you don't want to be sweating. Oh, and this right here is a Santa Fe. Just to throw this in, this is a Santa Fe Sport. So if you take a look at the price, the Santa Fe starts at $26,700, and with all these options, it's $32,000, $32,825. This one does not have the Ultimate Package with navigation, and it also doesn't have a moonroof. But it is a more spacious car. So let's take a look real quick at the Santa Fe first. As you can see, it's all of Hyundai's interiors pretty much look similar, but I have to say that because they use brighter colors and because their fit and finish and cut is a little bit more stylish than what the Japanese are offering you over at Nissan, I would prefer to go with Hyundai instead. So, here we are. This is the Tucson, and this one is a 1.6 turbo option instead of the 2.0. Now this one does not have the navigation system, and it also does not have the moonroof. That is the reason why, again, that this one's only $27,270. If you notice, the interior looks a lot like the Santa Fe. It's just that there's less space in it. How much less space in it? Well, we can sit in it and see, and I'm a pretty tall dude, so basically I feel any missing space. The thing about it is there's plenty of space for somebody even 6'6" like me to get in this. You do lose a little bit of space in the back for storing your groceries and stuff from Home Depot. You do lose some space in the back if you don't buy that Santa Fe, but for the most part, the Tucson is probably more than enough for your typical mom, dad, and 1 or 2 kids. Now, if you have 3 kids, you're probably gonna want something bigger. This is the inside of the white Tucson, as you can see, and this one has a large panoramic roof, as you can see, and it also has the navigation system. And I'll show you the instrument panel just to show you how they improved the instrument panel since the outgoing car. But as you can see, you got these fold down seats, and you have a little bit more space in the back than some of the smaller crossovers on the market. But good looking car, great looking colors. See, the beautiful thing about these lighter colors is they help your car feel more spacious and airy, especially when you have a moonroof, which lets in more light. By letting in more light, the car feels a lot more spacious than if you have a darker interior. Doesn't matter what car you're in, it's basically an optical illusion. But there's plenty of space back here for most items. If you have like a 60-inch television or something, if you can fit it in sideways, you'll definitely be able to fold down these seats and get your 60-inch television in here. If this isn't enough, you just, call up Uber before they start taxing the shit out of it here in New York City, and ask for an Uber truck or a van or something to help you move a very large item. But for the majority of people's daily use, this is a good enough city driving crossover. Like, you won't feel out of place in it. It looks good, so you won't feel self-conscious in it. Like, if people look at it, some people will say, hey, that's a nice crossover. They won't say, oh, that looks like a cheap budget rental. So once again, this is the interior, and here, starting on this side, you have your light dimming, you have your blind spot detection, you have your lane departure warning, you have your stability control, you have your trunk open automatic. Right here you have ventilated seats, heated seat for the front, obviously, your windshield defogger, your rear defogger, or your de-icer, I should say. Then you have your cabin recycle, new air in valve, and then these are the seat heating and cooling for the passenger. And then right here you have the all-wheel drive lock switch and whatnot. But everything's pretty straightforward, and it's very simple to use, and it looks definitely a lot better than the outgoing car. And then right here you have your Blue Link, which is a feature similar to OnStar. Then you also have your SOS button, your power dim button, and obviously these 3 buttons right here for your home link. Then there's the ultra view moonroof, open and close and whatnot. And you can also open and close the sunshade. So very good looking car, very decent price. You'll probably like this car if this is the kind of car you're in the market for. Again, a very, very attractive vehicle, especially when loaded. I refuse to buy any car without all of the equipment in it. This is a very, very attractive. Everything looks about the same nowadays. Very, very, very good looking car. All of these crossovers are about the same damn thing. The only way that you differentiate yourself at this point is by putting in a better engine, because nowadays all the engines are regular turbocharged. So, yeah, it's basically an Econo box. I mean, you pretty much have to get the turbocharged engine in order to feel like you actually really got something, because the small displacement natural aspirated engines. See, what these cars are really calling for is if they put the V6 from the Azera into these crossovers. So this way, forget the gas mileage. I mean, you're paying $35,000 for a car. Forget the gas, the fuel economy. They have a 7-speed dual clutch transmission. And the thing about it is, if you have a V6, it makes it so that when you do load one of these cars up with your family and everything, it makes it so that it doesn't feel slow. And that's what you want. You want to have adequate passing power. So this is, again, this is the Ultra View roof when it's open. Hyundai's cars are very, very cool. And this is the back seat. Now, if I'm sitting the way I normally sit, that's what you would expect to get behind me. But that's still good enough space for, you know, let's say a teenager if he's sitting upright. So with me comfortable, that's how far back my seat goes. Now let's look on the opposite side. But great, you know, once again, I'm gonna say it one more time. If you're not, you know, if you need more space, the larger crossover is really the way to go. You know, because you know, I'm like with the seats way back, you know, I really don't have much space in the second row. But once again, this is really for a soccer mom and her kids. This is not for, you know, 5 adults, especially if you're all 6 feet tall or larger. But other than that, it serves its purpose pretty well as a daily driver for a soccer mom, you know, and her kids, or even for an adult male who didn't have good enough credit to get something bigger, you know. So that's just what you're looking at. So as you know, there's heated seat buttons that they put right above the window latch. And other than that, it's pretty simple. They have cup holders right here in the doors. I always like the scallop doors with the cup holders because that makes it so that you have less of a chance of spilling something right here. Because you don't want to spill anything in a nice, lovely interior like this. And basically, that's what you're looking at. And as you can see, this is a limited 1.6. You know, and this once again is the trunk space. Okay. How do you pull this? Built-in USB ports with charging is a big deal in cars nowadays, because I guess the industry understands that so many people have cell phones and everything that charge via USB. So as you can see here in the Tucson, you have not only an auxiliary port for direct access to the radio, but on top of that, an USB and 212 volts. Since engine power isn't really a great selling point anymore, what they do is they focus on safety features so you're scared of not running over your children while backing out of a driveway. There are a couple of reasons why I like doing my own capsule reviews of new cars that come to market. For one, it's easy money on YouTube. That's pretty much the main reason why I do this. It's kind of like a hobby, kind of like a job. Second of all, it allows me to keep up to date with the newest technology and the newest driving experiences. Third is it allows me to drive just about every new car that comes to market. pretty much anything that comes to market that I find even marginally interesting, I'm going to check it out as soon as it becomes available. Other reasons why is because I like seeing new engine technology and I like finding out how certain vehicles drive. Now, this Tucson, I would probably compare directly to the Jeep Cherokee that's made by Jeep. The Jeep Cherokee, as you know, offers all-wheel drive, and unlike the Hyundai Tucson, the Jeep Cherokee offers a V6 with all-wheel drive when you get the highest level trim. Now, the Hyundai Tucson has grown considerably since the last iteration, the outgoing model, and it's a much larger car, so people who would have been interested in a Santa Fe may want to give this a look first. Now, as you can see, this car has a backup camera with trajectory, which is why you have the big screen, whether you have nav or not. As far as driving goes, the driving experience really isn't that great. Now, granted, this is an all-wheel drive crossover that you'd most likely be using for city driving. The thing about it is a lot of people really don't need all-wheel drive unless they live in a cold climate where they have to worry about frost, ice, snow, rain all year round, and they don't know exactly when that snow is coming. So all-wheel drive is pretty much the most important luxury feature you can get on a car, but really only if you live in the Northeast or Canada. If you live in the South or like Texas or something like that, most of those people will choose rear-wheel drive or front-wheel drive, and they don't think twice. They don't need all-wheel drive simply because they're not up against inclement weather. Now, the Tucson's steering is dead. It's electrical steering, so you're not really expecting to have any road feel, and you're certainly not going to get any. On top of that, the engine whir is a little annoying, it's a little boring, but it's pretty much exactly what you'd expect out of a budget rental crossover. It's exactly what you'd expect. The sound deadening materials that Hyundai uses are fantastic. The inside is nice and quiet. The materials of the inside of the car make it feel entry luxury. It's not luxurious, but it's definitely entry luxury, something like what you'd expect to if you paid $40,000 to $50,000 for a car. Entry luxury, quote unquote. But other than that, the ride quality, I had a chance to drive through New York City, all through Manhattan and whatnot, with horrible road quality, as you can pretty much see. Nobody in the world has to deal with roads this bad unless you live in an uncivilized city or country. But anyway, over horrible roads, the Tucson maintains composure, rides perfectly smooth. My only problem is the low-end torque on this car sucks. You have to put your foot down about 75% to really get it to kick into gear to move. I understand that you're carrying the extra weight of the all-wheel drive unit, but bottom line is this. These crossovers, especially as they grow in size, would be far better with a V6. Unfortunately, the industry figures that they can get away with giving you a 4-cylinder and turbocharging it. I would prefer a V6, so when you drive this, you'll probably notice exactly what I noticed as far as the lethargic low end. But if you can get a V6 when you get all-wheel drive, that's definitely the better way to go. Yeah, it's very quiet.
Road is very quiet, but you can have to go right, and then we have to go left, just to stick on the left turn. Yeah, we have to go left.